everyone, it's Lisa from My Dreaming Soap. Welcome to my channel, thanks for dropping by. Today we're moving on to the very last continent in our continent series. So we're on to Antarctica. And for Antarctica, clearly, it's going to be a snowy type scene. Not really a lot of extra things to pick from. So my plan is, actually I can just show you my little picture. So this is my plan here to do the sort of classic emperor penguin type scene where we've got the emperor penguin with 3 baby penguins behind in a snowy scene. So that's what I'm planning to do. So the first thing I need to do is make my penguins. So I've got some white clay titanium dioxide. And this is antique silver from Mica Mama. That's going to be for the baby penguins, and I'm going to blend those together quite roughly, not aiming to get it completely smooth, but I'd actually like it if it was still a little bit mottled. And then for my adult penguin, I've got obviously some activated charcoal and some more titanium dioxide soap dough. And I'm not going to need all of this, but it's just a nice amount to roll out a tiny weeny little bit of yellow that I'm hoping I'm going to be able to add. If you can see the adult penguin, they have a little sort of flash of yellow just in the throat area. So I'm going to try and get that done. So the first job I need to do is take my antique silver and my white and just mottle those together so I can get the baby penguin bodies. So I'm just going to go and do that, and then I'll come back when I've mushed all those together. Now I've got a whole bunch of rather complicated extruder discs. I'm not going to explain all the extruder discs, but I've designed them so that I can hopefully piece together my penguins that I've got. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to load these up into my large extruder tool and get those all extruded. I'm not going to bother to actually show the squeezing out of the extruding on the screen, but when we come back to construct these penguins, I will do that. So the first stage I'm going to do of these penguins is I've extruded one of my baby, well, I've extruded all of them, one of the baby penguins, and I'm just going to paint this with water. And remember, as I've said before, anytime you're using soap dough, you're working with soap that has gone through saponification already. So it's really important that everything at this stage is super clean. Obviously, you want things clean when you're doing your soap anyway, but at this stage, it's really important that you do things like use distilled water. Tap water people often use in their soaps and it's sort of okay, but because you've still got it interacting with the line going through saponification, you can take a little bit more of a chance with it. But here, because this is just water going into your soap, you need to make sure that it's as clean as it can be, and things like your brushes and that you're using, again, keep them super clean. So all I'm going to do is take my little extrusions that I've got, make sure I get them round the right way. Hard to tell actually. And this slightly darker grey is going to be the baby penguin's wing. And I'm just going to lift the top part of the body on and then form those through together and squash those together. And I will spend a little bit of time just making sure that I get them pushed together nicely. So can you see here, for example, there's gaps. I'm going to work on pushing and getting rid of those gaps. And then the other thing to bear in mind is whenever you're working with soap dough that's joined in parts, you need to add some water to it and then leave it alone. Let it sit and stick. If you keep fiddling with it before it's set, as it were, it's going to keep falling apart. Okay, so I'm just going to do that for this and then the other 3 penguins. Then I'm going to pop his head on. Head, I'm just going to extrude some black in the same way and attach that. And then we'll come back. So now I've extruded some, these are really minute, tiny weeny little heads that are going to slot over these bodies. So again, the same process. Take some nice clean distilled water on a nice clean paintbrush. I'm just going to add that, because remember your water when you're dealing with soap dough is your glue. And then just make sure I get the head round the right way. Get that and just slot that onto the groove I've made in that soap dough to fit the little chicks. Are they chicks if they're penguins? I'm sure I'll put that on the screen somewhere. Okay. Let's get it around the right way. I don't want his head on backwards. Exorcist penguin. Okay, so there's 2. I've got a 3rd penguin that I've got over on the side there. I'll do that off camera because I'm sure you don't need to watch the same process again. That's got these 2 that are the same shape, and then I've got a 3rd one that's slightly different, just so they don't all look like little clones of each other. Okay, so again, there we are, and this is the head of the 3rd one, and I'll go and finish that one off camera. And then to finish off our little penguins, our baby penguins, I've just extruded some thin bits of black, and I'm actually going to roll them a little bit thinner, just because I want to add on just some little tiny black feet. So I've extruded my big penguin, and this is the white area. And what I want to do with this is the bit, trying to make sure I get it around the right way, the bit that goes under the throat, I just want to put some yellow into, so I'm actually going to scrape this out just a little bit. And again, wipe this in with some clean paintbrush and distilled water. And then I've extruded a little bit of yellow, and I'm going to pop that in. And I kind of want to smush it because I don't want it to actually look round. I just want this to be a sort of yellowy area. Okay, so what I'll do now is I'll take this and I'm going to just join it to my back piece in a similar fashion to what I did with the baby penguin. So just join those together, and then we should be pretty well done with penguins. So I've finished all my penguins and put them all together. And what I'm just going to do is, remember that distilled water I've been using? I've put the tiniest little bit of activated charcoal in there. And what I want to do is, on this penguin here, because it's going to be white next to the white snow, I'm just going to gently sort of paint the front of that. Again, just, and you've probably seen me do this in other videos where I do that with rubbing alcohol or just a little bit of distilled water is fine. And all I just want to do is just make sure there's a tiny barrier between this white and the white of the snow. Okay, so just a tiny amount, just to force your eye so that you see the difference between the shapes. Yeah, so I'm sort of almost just dirtying the very front of that white soap dough. Okay, and now I'm just going to leave those to set up. I'm probably going to leave them overnight actually and make this soap in the morning, just to make sure that when you've got multi-part soap dough embeds, it is best to let them set, make that water go off, and then they'll be really, really solidly set together so that you can put them into your soap without them falling apart. So here we are the next day, and we're going to start making up the main soap. Now what I've got in here are my oils for my first layer that I'm going to do, and as you can see I've already pre-dispersed my titanium dioxide straight into these oils. It's a snowy scene, we're going to be using quite a bit of white. My lye solution with my sodium lactate, and then I've got a tiny bit of royal blue mica, and that comes from Mineral Makeup Ingredients. Now, what I want to do with this is I just want to put the tiniest bit of blue into my white, just to sort of, so it's not just completely white, if you know what I mean. Because I'm going to have various different areas of white, and I do want them to look different. But what I'm going to do first of all is I'm just going to add, that's my lye solution with my sodium lactate. I'm going to mix that in. And I'm literally going to give this the tiniest of blends, just so that I'm happy that these are mixed together, just so I can pour some off. Okay, so I'm just going to pour a little bit off into this squeeze bottle. That'll be plenty. And for the rest of this, again, I'm going to split this off a little bit. But what I want to do is I want to start adding the tiniest bit of blue. Now, I don't want this to go blue. I just want it to be a slightly different white. Okay, so I'm just literally going to drip tiny little drops in there, just to barely change that colour. Let's get rid of this, it's annoying me. Okay, I think that is going to be plenty. And now with this, I'm now just going to pour some of this off and keep it separately for a minute. So let me just go and split this out. Okay, so here I've got, now my camera doesn't really like whites, my sort of off-white, my sort of bluey grey white, my white, and what I'm going to do is leave this to the side, and then I'm going to start working with these two. And bearing in mind, I've kind of really at the moment barely got these emulsified, so I'm going to split out my fragrance oil. Okay, that will go with the other one. And I am going to give these a little blend. Now, normally I don't blend after I've added a fragrance oil, but remember, I kind of didn't even really get this to emulsion. I just sort of mixed the lye and everything together. So I am going to give it a blend. I think that will do with that. I'm going to do the same with this with my little mini mix. So I'm just going to go and quickly blend this. I can't get it here because the plug doesn't reach. So I'm just going to go off and blend that quickly. Okay, so we've got our mould. So I'm just going to get my first layer in. This is starting to thicken up, but that's okay because I need it to support those penguins. So I've got all of that in. And I'm just going to take this and just add some whitey bits through it, just so that there's some different colouring in this snowy layer. Just so it's not a solid colour. There we go. That's enough. And what I'm going to do is leave that until it's firm enough to hold on to those penguins without them sinking. And then we'll add those, and then hopefully we can keep this batter. As you can see, it's staying nice and thin at the moment because we haven't really done anything with that to fill in around those penguins. Okay, so it's penguin time. Let's get them in.
What's it like to be the one that he turns to when he's out of answers? What's it like to be the one that he comes to when he wants to dance?
So now what I can do is I can use this more fluid soap now. Can you see how that's stayed lovely and fluid? It's not really even at a trace yet. Remember, I didn't really blend that too much, I just mixed it, and it's got no fragrance oil. So let's pop this fragrance oil in. And because I've used the same soap that I used in the bottom, then we shouldn't really see much of a join with me adding these in.
She felt the same.
Okay, so this layer has now set up a bit. As you can see, I sort of left it on a bit of an angle just because I want to shape these into some sort of snow hills. So I'm just going to go through and just add some sort of shape to this. So here we are the next day with our little cute penguin soap. I don't know if you can see that. I think you can actually. After I turned the camera off, having done the top, can you see how I sort of like put some little clouds on the top? I just thought the top was looking a little plain. And all I did to do that was got a nice clean paintbrush and just dipped it in the snowy bit at the bottom and then used some of that to paint on some clouds. Whew, lucky. Think we missed them all. Okay, so let's have a look at what we've got. I always find it tricky when I've got this big loaf to kind of wheedle them out the end here. Oh, look at that. Oh, I'm really pleased with that. I love my adult penguin. Oh, I've really enjoyed doing this continent collection. It's lovely to have a theme. I must admit, sometimes I've really racked my brain trying to think about what I should do. Easter Island, South America, was my hardest one to choose, but each time I've made a soap, I've kind of fallen in love with it, and I love my, oh my gosh, I love my penguins. Look at him. Or her. Would that be the mummy or the daddy? I don't know. My little cute babies on my mountain. Oh goodness me. I love them. I'm sorry, I shouldn't say that. I always think it's funny when people cut soap and you see them and they're banging on about, oh my god, it's wonderful, it's the best thing in the world everywhere. But I do really love, look up my penguins. You're probably all seeing them by now, but and they're all pretty much the same, but oh, I'm really pleased with those. Do you know what? I've been having a really bad day the last couple of days. I've been doing a load of stuff and God, you know when stuff just doesn't go right. Not making soap. Soap's been great, but there's been lots of other things. I had trouble with my 3D printer and I've got a new printer and it's been a pain in the neck to set up, and I've been, God, working so many hours to keep on top of stuff, and just having something that really makes you smile, and it's actually made me a little bit teary how much I love this. So, gosh, there we go. Now, these will be obviously part of the Continents Collection, which will be released in the November shop update. There will be a few available separately, but the majority of them will be in the Continents Collection. So if you do want a bar of my super cute penguins, then you'll need to get there on Saturday the 14th. 13th? Runs off to check the calendar. Saturday the 13th of November at 6 p.m. UK time. If you want to grab a bar of penguins. Do you want to see some more? Go on then. Just turn down this light. It's a bit dazzly. See if we can make that better. More penguins.